Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mental Forge podcast. I'm Wyatt Bull, and this week we are joined by Brittany, and she has an incredible journey that she's willing to share with us today. So I hope you guys enjoy this content. So let's dive right into it. Again, this is the Mental Forge podcast where we sculpt alpha performers. We teach everything from flow state to brain health to fitness and everything in between. So here you go. I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Okay, so first of all, when I heard you speak, I thought we gotta talk to you. So here you are. Mm-hmm. So I have a tendency to talk too much. So I want you to tell your story. So I'm just gonna let you kind of start. Maybe where your talk was at. With
like
kind of the problem.
Or like the problem.
Well,
why
yeah.
I started.
You kind of go from the really bad spots.
Okay.
To where, look where you're at now is a crazy story.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so a little bit of background. I told him earlier, I had problems with alcohol addiction. I wasn't in the best marriage. That was almost a 10-year marriage. And I left that and found God because my oldest daughter, Claire, she wanted to see the missionaries. And through her doing that, I got reconverted. And I met my now husband, and we built a really good life. I have 2 kids from my prior marriage, and with Cody, we have 3 littles.
So there's 5.
5 total. From Claire will be 20 in November. And then Ruby, the baby, she is 4. So
there's a little gap. So tell me with the and I don't want to rehash it, but
I'm an open book.
But I mean, because there's a lot of people out there that are struggling, with that, and in our society, it's just so common.
Yeah.
It's just when you turn a certain age, that's like a rite of passage. You go out and. Well, so tell me the deep. How bad was it? What did you?
So, I started drinking when I was 14, and I had my last drink in 2013. So you go 14 to 28. When the marriage was really bad, because my ex-husband was a drinker too, because there was a lot of heart in our life, and that's how I coped. I was always able to take care of my kids, and I only would do that after they were asleep, so I made sure that they were okay. But entire paychecks just with alcohol. And things were a lot less expensive back then.
Yeah.
But I didn't make much, so you could say like $500 to $700 every 2 weeks. It was a lot. And that was my way of coping, because there was a lot of, not good things in that marriage. It was a lot of trauma. And so, and I was really angry at God too for a very long time. I grew up in the church, but I knew it was true. But then, I felt like he had left.
Mm-hmm.
And, if he was there, why wasn't he helping me? And, I would leave. I would leave my husband for a little bit at that time, and I would always go back because I felt like I made, even though it was a civil marriage, I made promises with him and God.
Yeah.
And even though my kids, in a sense, were getting neglected when he was with them when I was working, and there are a lot of times that I probably shouldn't be alive because there's lots of bad circumstances. Where was God? Why wasn't he helping me? And something really bad had to happen before I could leave. And having anxiety and depression with that and drinking, it's not good.
Yeah.
it makes those things a lot worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because alcohol is it's a downer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's something that's a lot of people. I mean, it's just, man, everybody's life would be so much better without it, and we just don't understand that. I think, and it's like, I know, when I listen to you talk, it's like what have you've turned into is just something, crazy. And so, there's always hope for a lot of people out there. I think that it is relief. It is, and that can make it even more, but you always have to deal with the next day. That's the thing that I think is really tough. So what happened, because you obviously you felt this, it's like you didn't want to be where you were at.
Yeah.
What was now I know there was a spiritual change, but let's talk a little bit about the physical part of what you did as well.
So do you want the last year physical change,
well, just since you started running,
okay,
so kind of that story
last
maybe.
March, I was in another really bad spot with depression and anxiety. Not going into much because it's not my story to tell. My oldest daughter was going through some things, and she's good. She's living her best life and at college now. But after she moved out, my husband looked at me and he said, something's got to give. Like, I'm worried about you. You're hiding in the house. Curtains are closed. Have been in survival mode for years. Your body is not okay physically. You're having panic attacks from when you wake up to when you go to bed. You can't move. My kids were still being taken care of, but we weren't living. We were surviving. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'll be brave. But it was months of him not nagging, but I love you. You have to do something.
Trying to help. Yeah.
And so finally I was like, fine. And at this time we were also going through issues with extended family that were really hard at that time. So it was just a lot of hard. And I was really angry at God, and I was really lonely. And so I started walking, and I don't know, I probably look like the weirdo in the subdivision. I would be screaming and crying and talking with God. Really early in the morning, it'd be why? And I would lose my voice just talking with him because I wanted him to be my friend. And
the neighbors are like, there's that redhead again.
No, there's that weirdo with her dog. What is she doing?
She's all talking.
People know that, see me talk. But then little by little, okay, I can walk a little bit farther. So I'm going to jog for 30 seconds and then I'm going to walk for a minute. And then I kind of built up that little by little because I couldn't run to the end of my block. I used to be a smoker. I was a preemie baby that weighed 2 pounds when I was born. So I have scar tissue in my lungs, I had asthma. I'm not supposed to be physically fit. I have anxiety, I have depression, I have degenerative bone disease. So my hips and pelvis and back, they're always popping out of the sockets. I don't know. So then little by little, we added the mileage. And it's okay, I can run a half a block. Let's try another little bit. And then I found, okay, my subdivision, the inner part, that's a 1 mile loop. Let's see if we can run that. And then we made little goals, and little by little, I think last year I did 1,000 miles from March to December. But for me it was huge because I'm I can do a 5K every day. But it's far, but for me, I'm I don't know, Brittany, let's push yourself a little bit farther. So I'm okay, what's my goal for this year? Well, it's 2025 is the year I'm going to run 2,025 miles. So, and then little goals on top of that, let's run a half a marathon every month. To make my goal, I have to do 5.5 miles, 7 days a week. But let's go farther than that. So I did the math. I think I told you it was 1,338 miles so far this year. And then my math, I'm like 552 miles ahead of schedule. So
you might have to readjust your goal.
yeah, I might, because I'm like to my husband, Cody, I'm only like 600 miles away from my goal.
It's crazy.
But I mean, I don't just run. I do other stuff too, because I want to be tiny, mighty, like lift weights.
Strong, yeah. So tell me, because one of the things I work with athletes a lot is here's really elite athletes, and they say they have a goal, but it's just in their mind. It's not written down. Mm-hmm. So tell me that step by step. How did that setting those goals help you?
Well, I had to have incentives to help kind of keep me motivated, because it's hard waking up early every single day of the week. No one likes going to bed at 9:30 every day, and like doing the things every single day. It's easier to press snooze and like not do it. People look at you and they're like, okay, you don't need to do what you're doing a little too much, like just stop. That's not helpful. Like, you don't have to do
that's
what I'm doing. That's
because you're making those people feel guilty is what you're doing.
I don't know about but I'm like, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. Like, all I know is since I've started, like, I can actually walk. I don't have panic attacks anymore. I'm not depressed as much. Like, I gave my anxiety a name. Like, and when I have problems, you call it out. And
and the exercise piece of that for anxiety is huge.
I think it's more important for your mental health than your physical. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think like your brain is any other organ. Like, if it needs help, you would go to a doctor if you had a broken arm. So like, you need to make sure your brain's okay. Yeah,
that's a lot that with the athletes that we work with, sometimes it's a struggle for a lot of athletes, and they're lucky because they get to go out. That's part of their daily, just like yours. Part of that plan is going out and getting your blood pumping, and there's a whole bunch of studies out there that say if you just go out and walk for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, it's better than any antidepressant that you could get.
I do night walks with my husband every night, and that is we do the 2-mile loop in the subdivision, and that's our time to reconnect and like unpack your day, and okay, what are you struggling with? Like, what's going on? And just to be like seen and heard and talk with someone, like, it really helps.
Huge. It's a huge thing. And, I don't know if Wyatt told you, we're doing a thing. We started a little challenge. We really haven't started yet, but we're ramping up for it. But it's called Hostage 66, and it's just dealing with your phone.
Oh, yeah.
And, I look at that and I'm like, just think of how many couples, if they were just to put their phones and go walk around the block, just to start. And then talk. My wife and I, we went all the kids were gone, so we were like, let's go. So we went to Smoking Fins and had dinner, and then we went, around the loop over by the town. Yeah, and it was just so fun. No, there was no distraction. We just talked, and it was gorgeous out until the wind hit us like, bam. If I had hair, it would be blowing all over. So, but I look at that and it's like, okay, so what you said, and, our society, not a lot of people set goals.
No.
Matter of fact, it's like almost 3% Not very many. And so written down type of goals, but that gave you something to chase in the morning.
Yeah.
And when you find yourself not chasing things, I think that's when depression starts speaking to you again.
Well, and I think you have to be disciplined, because your motivation, it's going to end. So, like, what's your why? And you need to find it, and that might change. And so, like, my why is I see other family members struggling with similar ailments that I have, and my littlest one is 4. I have to do all that I can do so I can be the best version of me and show them that we can do hard things.
Yeah, it's like, look at mom.
To make impossible goals, and like, you blow them out of the water.
And that it's such a good, and with an active family, that obviously, it helps everybody.
Yeah.
It's just you're more of a team.
Yeah.
Instead. And with our phones, man, the more I've done deep dives into it, I just read a study the other day that it wasn't a study, it was a little article, but they said, and I can't remember if it's Facebook but one of the social media platforms, they're trying to figure out how to get 4-year-olds on the phone. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, it's like, and how do you, with the phone, it's like it's opened the world to them. How do you, as a parent, compete with that? You can't.
No.
You can't. The world is at their, on their phone. And so I guess the point we're trying to make and trying to help, people with, it's like, we're not saying don't ever use your phone. There's a lot of great things you can use your phone for, but it's like, have power over it. Well,
there's a life outside.
Exactly. Go live your life instead of watching somebody. And I was thinking about this yesterday, Wyatt. Now, social media, we're actually watching channels where somebody else is watching somebody else do something. And I'm like, what? Somebody just is pulling up videos. So we're watching this dude, watch another dude, and we're watching them. And I'm like, what kind of life is this,
We're the weird family that, like the big kids, they had phones, so because they would go back and forth to their dad. But my littles are still little enough that they're not going to have phones for a long time. But with the big kids, they had set parameters before. A phone is a privilege, and so you got to do your chores, you got to do your schoolwork. They would go in our room at night, and they would charge them.
Great stuff.
So
yeah.
they wouldn't be on their phone all night, and then they weren't allowed social media. We were the mean parents, but like I found out if they would sneak social media, because they would, and they get on it, they would be really depressed because they compared their worst days to whoever's best days, because a lot of that isn't real life.
Yeah.
And so even with the little kids, no, we're going to make sure you don't have a lot of screen time. You're going to play outside. We're going to do things. We're going to go camping. Dad's on ski patrol. We're going to go skiing, snowboarding. Like, we're going to do things. Which is
just awesome, and you look at that. So anyway, so you started actually just step by step.
Yeah, step by step.
And then
just add little by little.
You got the discipline.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, a lot of athletes that are struggling, looking foolish or, not being great is a struggle for a lot of people. They don't want to go into that, and so I have a little saying in my office that it says, the master has failed more than the beginner has ever tried. And you look at that, and it's just so true. It's like the failure and the failure and the failure, which I think when you begin, somebody that's done what you've done, you look at failure as a whole different thing. It's not a failure anymore. It's just how we learn and grow.
Yeah. You have to start somewhere. And I used to be self-conscious because, ginger in the morning, I don't have eyebrows on because I draw them on every day, and so I have like no makeup on, my hair is in a bun on top of my head, like makeup is my security blanket, like I wouldn't even go to Walmart without a full face on. And then you're seeing everyone in the neighborhood and they're like, oh my gosh, what's that weirdo doing? Why is she out there with her dog? Like, what was she doing? But you gotta let that go and be like, it doesn't matter what they think, like you do you, and if it makes you happy, it doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah. And you look at some of the greatest athletes, and they were, a lot of people are like, crazy. I remember I worked with one girl who was a runner, and, when you run outside, you never guarantee, she was a cross-country runner, and you're never guaranteed weather, right? And they very seldom do they stop a race. So if it's raining or snowing or whatever, you keep running. And so I asked her, I said, well, what do you train? Most of it's indoors, and I'm like, no, you got to go out on your worst days so that you can, and maybe this speaks to you, but you can start dealing with those mental demons. It's like, and so I made now her dad went with her, but this was in Chicago, and it was like 4 a.m. I think it was 6 degrees below. and I made her go out, and she ran a 5K. Now she's a very elite athlete, but her dad followed along in the car.
Well, she was all winter with my dog, and we're like, okay, as long as it's 3 below, we're okay. And my puppy, he would go with us. And okay, well, we can. I didn't go more than an hour with him, but I made precautions. He had the little booties on and stuff to make him. But I think it's more fulfilling when it's not good weather.
Yeah, when it's, and that's what builds that. That's what builds that mental toughness, that grit. And we, as a society nowadays, we don't. When I see, kids waiting for buses and they're all inside their parents' cars and stuff, and it's
we had to wait outside.
Yeah, it's like they're making them weak. It's like they're not. Now, I'm not saying abuse your kid. That's not what I'm saying at all.
No.
But a little cold, that's not really gonna, and so, but we've taken all that away, and that's where kids really struggle. The discipline of waking up at a certain time every day, that kind of stuff. So, your grit is such a cool thing to see because you weren't there years ago.
No, I've never been athletic and done really hard things. I like to live in a bubble. I like to be, I'm an introvert kind of, and I'm a homebody. I don't really have very many friends, and so it was TV. You kind of stay inside your house. You just do the same thing every day. But then I was like, okay, but that's not living. What am I showing my kids? We need to show them that they can do hard things and be brave. And for me, even driving here was really scary.
You told me.
And talking, I don't do public speaking. That was the first time
I know
ever
you
gave.
told me it was awesome.
But we need to kind of do scary things so we can grow and be the better person that you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. So we moved here from Colorado, and we would come up. My wife's family was raised in Swan Valley, which is not very far away from here, but just gorgeous in the Snake River. And when we were driving, I would stop the car and I would make us all get out, and we'd take our shoes off and I'd make them go get in the Snake River.
Yeah.
And that is a cold river.
It is very cold.
Cold. They're like, Dad, it's like we're filming it, and we're having fun. But just little stuff like that it's like, oh, it was just a stupid little funny little thing, But I think, especially my youngest, is like, well, maybe I can do some, harder things and we do get in we get in a funk, it's like the same thing every day, and we struggle, and so getting out and doing, and then, with Wyatt over here, some of the crazy stuff that, he's done to challenge himself, which is, a lot of people just don't want to do that, Okay, so your goal this year is 2,000. Well, you're probably going to have that before, so it's going to be more. Maybe we'll have to do a second podcast to see where you're at. And I've been thinking about maybe. I'm trying to figure out time wise, but I want to get to where at a certain age I want to run a marathon. Is what I want to do.
Last month this month 22.6 miles. So in June I want to do a little bit more, maybe 24, and then hopefully by July I can do 26.
Yeah, you will.
Kind of slowly build.
Yeah, it's step by step, right? Okay, so let's just talk a little bit. Have you felt, so we teach athletes kind of how to get into flow state on. Okay. Have you felt that before, where it's like the run could be the runner's high, the zone?
So, say usually on my really, really long runs, my hips start to hurt a little bit, but then I keep telling myself, okay, Brittany, you have 40% left in your tank. It hurts. It'll just hurt a little bit longer, and then if you push through that a little bit, it usually goes away, and you can. I fight through the pain, but I have a high pain tolerance. I know when enough is enough, and be like, okay, Brittany, you've done enough today. We need to be done.
Yeah.
But it's no, I have crazy impossible goals. If I've done it before, I can do it again. And if I did 20 miles last month, I can go a little bit farther. Like, I want to see, maybe I can never go 26. Maybe the farthest I can go is my 22 miles. But, like, I want to see what my body's capable of, because it's probably more than I think it can.
It's usually your brain turning off
And-
before, even though you're hurt. So in flow, there's phases of it. There's 4 phases, and one of the phases, the struggle. And it might take you miles to get into where you feel that struggle. And then once you kind of, what you said, break through that struggle, then you get into flow. And that's, simply put, is when you feel your best and you perform your best. And so why it's felt, I think most athletes, most people have maybe felt it in different ways, but there's a guy, his name's Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and he studied flow for about 30 years. He was a professor at University of Chicago, and he wrote a huge book on flow. And he found out that he interviewed, I don't know, it was like 30,000 people. I mean, it was huge. And he goes, like, anybody can get into it. A bricklayer, a doctor, a lawyer, anybody can get into it. A mom, so, and that's where we feel our best. And it's like, we don't, in our society today, we don't ever talk about how do we really feel without, all the extra stuff that you would have to use to make, but then you got to pay for it the next day. Whereas flow is something that, once you reach that point, you just feel unstoppable, And my dad owned a bike shop, and I used to ride. And I remember after, 30, 40, 50 miles where you're just dying. And then all of a sudden there's that little, and it's like, holy mackerel, I feel so great now. So understanding that, you have probably felt that, and that's helped you stay with it. Do you think?
Yeah, well, and I think because it's helped, exercise in general has helped my mental health so much. Like, I can't just stop. I didn't come this far just to come this far. Like, I'm happy. And, like, my little kids, they see mommy doing crazy hard things. And so, like, after they wake up in the morning and I'm doing my weights, they have little 1 pound, 2 pound weights, and they're doing it with mommy. So, like, and even in my little neighborhood, I started like a little moms walking group that I invited people in the neighborhood to come walking. Just even if they can only do it 1 day a week, like, it's something.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see like people in the neighborhood, like, wow, look what they're doing.
It's such a cool story, and from your transformation. I mean, just look at your days before all this.
Yeah, it was hard.
With all it's just like,
it was really hard to even get out of bed.
Yeah, it's hard to do the way you were living, and it's also hard to do what you're doing.
Hard, right?
It's exactly
it's hard
right.
Being disciplined and eating healthy and going to bed early, waking up really, really early. Like, I joke, when I sleep in, it's 5 a.m. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, when you get a little older, then that's just, I wake up at that time, so it's not hard for me at all. That's when I just wake up. But
yeah.
But as you look at it, and I just love this because I think there's so many people out there that want to try to do something, and I think if we could just teach people, it's just step by step, right? Line upon line. It's that little thing. You just start.
When I tell like friends and neighbors and people in the ward, they're like, "How do you do it?" And I was like, "Well, I started walking. Like, it was scary to get out the front door and just walk around the block. But like, if you do it little by little, you build upon that, and then those baby steps with consistency become huge milestones, like huge things."
Yeah, and like you said, the motivation. Motivation is.
No, it ends.
It's not a very good friend.
No.
Because once it gets hard, then it's gone.
Yep.
Whereas the discipline,
Yeah.
that really matters.
When you look at the forecast and you're like, okay, it's gonna snow 6 to 8 inches. Like, okay, let's go. Like, I don't want to go out in that.
I know.
Like, you do.
I remember when I was on my mission a long time ago. There was a guy that I got to know really well, and he had ran every day for 7 years.
That's amazing.
He did not miss one day. And I remember this was in Oregon. We were over at their house, and he comes in, and it was just soaking. And he looked at his watch, an hour and 10 minutes, and it was just, he was just drenched, and how many people would, it's like, I'm out of here. Yeah. So that discipline is something that, and when you build that, you feel so much better. It builds confidence in yourself. I mean, look at where you've come from, just us talking from years ago, where, that confidence was probably not there.
I've never been a confident person. Because growing up, I got made fun of for being a redhead and different. I'm a twin. And so, not having your own identity, you're just known as a twin. And then we lived in a small town in Blackfoot. And that was really hard. Bullying and getting made fun of. And I don't know, just a lot of hard. So it's like when people tell you that you're different and weird and you don't fit in and you're an outcast or a black sheep your whole life, you believe that, and you're like, okay, I can't do hard things, so then you just don't. But I think in my case, the fear of being where you are is worse than the unknown. That's when I changed.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my husband to keep pushing me for months when I kept telling him no. And because he loved me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want you around.
He saw potential that I couldn't see. That I could be healthy and happy and be better. A better mom, a better me, and that trickled down so I could help my own family and be a little bit better.
Yeah. And you're just happier. You feel better,
Yeah. And a year isn't very long. A lot can happen in a year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And just to start, to get out and start, and it's such a cool story. When I heard it, I was like, man, that's just amazing. And then what you've built it up, to be. And it's so true with families, you want to be a good example. We have 4 kids and 7 grandkids, and I want to run with my kids when I'm 80.
Well, my grandparents growing up, they lived in their lazy boy recliners, right? They slept in there. From when the only memories I have of them is they watched TV in the chairs, they ate in the chairs, they slept in the chairs. I don't have memories of playing with them. We would go and visit them, and I loved them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were good people, but my own grandma had her own struggles with mental health, and she was agoraphobic. She didn't leave the house. And so you just see things in your own life that you're okay, if I'm predisposed to certain things with mental health issues, I got to do my part because I have a long time left to live.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to play with my kids and grandkids.
Yeah, grandkids are way better than kids.
That's what my mom said.
You
sugar them up and send them home.
I'm just gonna tell you, they love Nana and Poppy, and I tell you, So, well, I just in closing, when I heard you talk, I was like, it's such a great story, and from where you've come and to where you're going, and it's we're not even close to reaching your potential, and what you think you can do. And that's the greatest thing, I think, is living, we talk a lot about, I'm a child of God, and it's what is that potential? And are we really living up to that potential?
Well, and I love that he can see what we can't see. And he loves me just the same. Even back when I joke, I was a heathen in a dirtbag that had a lot of heart. That wasn't the best person. I wasn't a good person, but he still loved me enough, and then he put people in my life that believed in me, and then that I could grow and be a little bit better.
Wouldn't it be cool if we as a society could see people for what they could be instead of maybe what they are right now? And that's the coolest thing. And it's how great would that be to raise our kids that way? It's I see my kids what they could be, and it's give them that, the opportunity, the motivation, the love, and sometimes the, not the hard, sometimes you have to do it that way too, but your story is so awesome. So we really thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So